Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. It is March of the Machine release weekend. Of course, that new set is having a big impact on card prices. We're seeing that set move a number of cards throughout the secondary market, but there's other factors moving card prices too, including a big March of the Machine The Aftermath leak that occurred this week. Quickly before we get started, a couple of things. First, I want to thank four of the viewers who gave super thanks tips for last weekend's video: AlPal8319, Mark Von Bank, Matty J Mania, and the Shib. Thank you all for your support. These super thanks tips, they really help me continue to put out these videos. Without viewers like yourself, I couldn't do this. I really do appreciate all this consistent support. Thank you to the four of you very much. And the second thing, just a reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can order March of the Machine products there. You can also pre-order March of the Machine The Aftermath products too. Plus, they have a whole lot of other things on their website. Remember, if your order's over $100 or consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, whenever you use the Heroes promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated. So thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. Yet again this week, there is no standard spotlight. We do have a $2 threshold. We don't discuss any cards unless they're moving up at least $2 in these videos. And again, because a lot of people are waiting to see what's going to happen with March of the Machine, we're not seeing a lot of movement in the standard market. And of course, March of the Machine cards, which are a little turbulent right now, we're not going to discuss today because we need a baseline. So next week, we'll start working those into these videos, see how much they've shifted up and down. We do have 3 Pioneer legal cards moving up to discuss though, so let's take a look. The first one is Cavalier of Dawn, moving up $8.02 to $17.89 this week. You see this in 4 color Fires of Invention, many times the 5 color variation of that deck as well in Pioneer, but the format pushing this the most right now is Commander. It has been seeing some increased play recently in Elish Norn Mother Machines build, sure, but now many players want this to upgrade the March of the Machine Knight Tribal Commander deck Cavalry Charge. It's also showing up in fresh builds around the front-facing Commander from there, Sidar Jabari of Zhalfir. This next card has been hot recently, Mana Confluence from Journey to Nyx. It goes up $9.55 to $52.45. In Modern, this is in Dredge, Legacy it's in Lion's Eye Diamond Dredge. This is also a big mana-based card in Commander, of course. You see this in Atraxa Praetor's Voice and much more there. But Pioneer is the format moving it the most right now. This has been part of the mana base of a number of Pioneer builds. It's in Abzan Greasefang, which is very popular. Also in the Atraxa Neoform deck, which is gaining a lot of momentum. But the biggest catalyst for this jump right now is a brand new build in the format. Todd Anderson has been showcasing a combo deck using Retraction Helix, Mox Amber, and a new card for March of the Machine, Rona Herald of Invasion / Rona Tolarian Obliterator. So long story short, this deck runs 4 copies of Mana Confluence in the mana base. We will have to see how the deck performs long term in the meta, but right now there's a lot of attention on it. Additionally though, this card was in 2 Commander decks in a Game Nights episode of the Command Zone podcast this week. One was Goru Goru and Satoru, the other one was Slimefoot and Squee. That video may have brought some more attention to the card this week, but I do think Pioneer is the key driver here this time. And our last card in this section is Jace Vryn's Prodigy from Magic Origins. It is up $35.98 to $44.99. Now this is a fairly popular commander. It's in the 99 and some builds there too, including one around a new card from March of the Machine, Rona Herald of Invasion / Rona Tolarian Obliterator again. But I think you know where I'm going with this. Pioneer is the reason this card is jumping right now. There's 4 copies of this in that Rona combo deck I mentioned a moment ago. That quickly brings us to the Modern Legal Spotlight. Let's see which Modern Legal cards are moving up the most this week. Sword of Fire and Ice from Double Masters is up $2.03 to $53.42. This is in Modern Death and Taxes, builds, and more. Legacy, you see this in Monoway Hammer Time. It's also a solid commander card in a number of decks, including Arden Intrepid Archaeologist and Rogrok Son of Roga partner builds. Ratcatcher from Dissension is next, up $2.23 to $7.96. This has been seeing increased commander play recently in Karumonix the Rat King builds, but March of the Machine, the Aftermath leaks may be pushing this a little bit too. Now, since the card I'm about to refer to is a leak, I won't spoil the details here, but I will give the name, and that way if you want to look it up and see the connection, you can do that. But if you want to avoid even the name, I'll let you go ahead and skip to the next card now. The card I'm referring to is Nashi Moon's Legacy. Next, we have another Sword of Truth and Justice from Modern Horizons. This goes up $2.69 to $42.99. You do see this in the popular Tracks of Praetor's Voice Commander decks, as well as many other builds there. It is also, though, a good upgrade to a couple of the March of the Machine Commander decks, Growing Threat and Call for Backup. And you do see this in fresh Commander builds around cards from those two decks, Brahma's Blade of Oreskos from Growing Threat, and Shalai and Halar from Call for Backup. Next is a card we've talked about a lot recently, War Elemental, of $3.82 to $12.90. This card got a push in Commander not too long ago because of a card from Phyrexia All-Will-Be 1 called All-Will-Be 1. It has seen some additional Commander play recently, also in Solfim, Mayhem, Dominus decks, but now there is interest in this card as an upgrade to one of the March of the Machine Commander decks. Again, it is Call for Backup. And like the previous card, I'm also seeing this in early fresh deck lists around Shalai and Halar from there. Much like All-Will-Be 1, War Elemental combos directly with Shalai and Halar, but that card can be your commander, which will let you pull the combo off with greater consistency. Oh, by the way, there's only one copy of War Elemental, which means there's only one type of foil. It is, of course, the Mirrodin foil, and that's going up in value too. Let's take a look. That's up $22 this week to $94.84. And the last card in this section today is Kinsbale Cavalier, the Dual Decks Knights vs. Dragons copies up $10.50 to $28.99. The Morning Tide copies up $13.32 to $33.41. Now, this card traditionally saw a little Commander play. It was frequently in Sirgwin, Hero of Ashvale decks there, for example. But now, you guessed it, this is another good upgrade to Cavalry Charge. And it's also showing up in new Commander deck lists around Sidar Jabari of Zhalfir from there. And here we are already at the Eternal Spotlight, my favorite part of the video. This is our salute to all Eternal formats, but mostly Commander. So obviously, not all the cards in this section are going to be legal in every Eternal format, but I'll tell you where they're not legal: Standard, Pioneer, and Modern. Akroma's Will is our first one. It's up 203 to 1714. This is a very good Commander card found in a lot of popular builds. This in like Rin and Syrian Inseparable and Giada Font of Hope, for example. But now there is more interest on the card since it is a good upgrade to a couple of the March of the Machine Commander decks, Cavalry Charge and Call for Backup. And you guessed it, it's also new Commander builds around a couple cards from those decks, Sidar Jabari of Zhalfir from Cavalry Charge, and Shalai and Halar from Call for Backup. City of Traders up 242 to 337.49. Now, not a big percentage increase here, but it is interesting because it is rebounding after some recent losses, at least a little bit. It does get a lot of legacy play in several decks, including the popular Sneak and Show builds that were pushed recently by Atraxa Grand Unifier. Additionally, you see this in a variety of Commander decks. Greensleeves Morrow Sorcerer goes up 267 this week to 29.62. This is one of the Dominaria United Eternal cards, and it has seen a good amount of Commander play ever since it came out. Now it's seeing even more play there in a couple builds around new cards from March of the Machine, Zamon and Dina, as well as Thalia and the Gitrog monster. Plateau from Revised up 285 this week to 349.63. This is another small percentage increase, but I think it's still noteworthy because it does show that the card is relatively steady. And as you know by now, the revised dual lands have been very turbulent ever since the 30th anniversary edition announcement. Now, with that being said, there's still plenty of them jumping and dropping pretty aggressively this week. You're going to see a few more later in the video, in fact. As far as gameplay goes, of course, they're all highly played in the formats where they're legal. Next, we have the Ur-Dragon from Commander 2017. This only comes in foil. It goes up 324 this week to 69.35. So this does continue to be the most popular Commander for Dragon Tribal, and it is in the 99 of some Dragon builds there too. But recently, it has been losing value because we know a reprint is coming in Commander Masters. This week, it does rebound somewhat though, and maybe that is tied in at least in part to the March of the Machine, the Aftermath leaks we saw. Again, I'm not going to go into too many details here, but if you'd rather not hear about the card names or what I'm about to say about the Aftermath set, go ahead and skip to the next card now. From what we saw, there's a little bit of Light Dragon support in this new small set. Sarkhan Soul of Flame and Niv Mizzet Supreme are two examples that have been leaked so far. Next is Mox Opal, the Modern Masters 2015 copy is up $2.09 this week to $79.99. The Double Masters copy is up $3.52 to $85.52. This is in Legacy 8-Cast, Painter, and more. In Vintage, it's in Paradoxical Outcome. It's also a very popular Commander card too in a number of builds. and many are getting it to upgrade another one of the March of the Machine commander decks, Tinker Time. It's also being used in fresh builds around a card from there, Rashmi and Ragavan. Maybe this card will give you diminishing returns over time. This is diminishing returns. The 6th edition copy is up 337 this week to 584. The Alliance's copy is up 467 to 995. So this has seen a little commander play. It's in the Kusar the Mind Razor, for example. But the reason this is spiking now is because of a kitchen table format called Forgetful Fish. We've talked a lot about this format over the last couple weeks, but in case you're catching up, players play with one shared deck of 80 cards. Traditionally, that deck contains 10 copies of Dan Dan, 6 copies of Memory Lapse, but there's variations on that. The rest of the deck will have a number of blue tempo spells, typically, and this card here shows up in many of the builds. So why is this format hot now? Because Ristic Studies did a YouTube video recently looking at the history and exploring how to play the format. Shortly after that, when the card started to move up, TCG Player put out an article discussing the format as well. There's just been a lot more attention on this casual format over the last couple weeks. Next, we have Battle Angels of Tyre. This is up $5.26 this week to $20.50. Solid commander card in a variety of decks already. Since it is an angel, it is in the popular Giada Font of Hope builds, but it's also a knight. So you guessed it, this is a great upgrade to Cavalry Charge, and I've seen this in fresh builds around Sidar Jabari of Zelfir as well. Lion's Eye Diamond up $6.15 this week to $5.19.75. This is rebounding after a recent drop. It is a popular legacy card in Doomsday and much more. Vintage, you see this in Oops All Spells, plus you find it in several commander decks. Lake of the Dead is next up, $6.30 to $111.65. This has been a little turbulent recently. It is in a number of commander builds though, including Kuruk Son of Yawgmoth. Crystal Spray up $8.20 to $31. This is an older card yet to be reprinted, so it is hard to find online in high grade. Traditionally, it has seen a tad bit of commander play, but it is another card used frequently in Forgetful Fish decks. Here is another revised dual land, Tropical Island. It goes up $9.55 this week to $573.91. And here's Taiga from revised up $10.93 to $393.47. Next is Wheel of Fortune from revised up $11.55 to $324.99. Like the revised dual lands, this is another card from that set that has seen some ups and downs ever since the Magic 30th anniversary announcement occurred. It is a solid commander card in a variety of builds. Mana Crypt, the original book giveaway media promo copy, is up $14.03 this week to $344.99. Now remember, Wizards just sold more Mystery Booster Convention Edition boxes in the Festival in a Box Minneapolis 2022 Secret Lair, so more copies of Mana Crypt are getting into circulation. In fact, the Eternal Masters and Mystery Booster copies both are trending down this week. And if you'd like to learn more about that or other cards that are trending down, just check out the series of shorts we put out throughout the course of the weekend. All that information is there. But back to Mana Crypt, this original harder to find copy is moving up regardless. When it comes to gameplay, it's in lots of vintage builds including Esper Tinker, and it's a big commander card in many different decks there. One more revised dual land, it is Bayou, up $15.40 to $477 this week. And our last card today is Reanimate from Archenemy. This goes up $15.96 this week to $35.33. So this particular copy dried up online over the course of the week. The remaining copies out there have a pretty high asking price, which is skewing this sum. Once more copies return to the marketplace of this particular version of the card, it should retract again. Now, when it comes to gameplay, the card is still very hot though. You do see this in the updated Legacy Reanimator decks with the Traxa Grand Unifier. It's also in Legacy Death Shadow and Oops All Spells, as well as Sultai Delver. Plus, you see this in a lot of different commander decks. In fact, I have seen some using this to upgrade Cavalry Charge. And it can show up in new builds around Sidar Jabari of Zelfir as well. Okay, that is going to do it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. If you're still with me at the end, hey, thanks for being here. I appreciate that. Thank you for all your support. And until next time, hey, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.